Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to our third Live at 5 with Friends. And tonight I have my super awesome friend, Jamie Swanson, who's joining us. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Rhonda.
Don't mind the siren. Sorry, guys. But she is going to be talking about building your community. So if you missed the last two nights, you're going to want to go back and watch those replays. The first night, on Monday night, we had Bill King, CPA, and medical healthcare professional, tax extraordinaire guy. The information that he shared was unbelievable. Last night, we had Angie Schultz, and she talked about how to story brand your website, your content, your copy, all that stuff. And then tonight, woohoo! We've got Jamie. So let me give you a little quick introduction about how I met my dear friend Jamie. So we're both in a mastermind together, and I was quite intimidated by joining this mastermind. So I'm going to San Diego. Was the first time. And have flown all day, traveled in. I've got a big suitcase, heavy, and we're meeting at this restaurant. I don't know anyone. And these people in this mastermind, like Jamie, and there's 30 people, and I don't really know what I'm walking into. And I feel like I should not be here. Like, this is really the wrong place for me to be. I don't belong. Jamie's smiling. See this face? And so I walk in and I thought, okay, I was scared to death. And I thought, well, I'm going to put my big girl panties on. I'm just going to walk in. I'm just going to be myself. And so I pulled my suitcase in and I said, hey, everyone, I'm here. I'm Rhonda. Nice to meet you all, or something to that effect. And Jamie stops. She looks up at me and she goes, I like you. I said, oh, we are going to be good friends. So Jamie, this is why she is so perfect for this conversation, because this woman knows how to build relationship. Like, that was the first thing that she said to me was, I like you. And it meant so much to me coming in, not feeling real sure about my space. Mm-hmm. So when I was contemplating the topics that I wanted to share with you, this was definitely one that I thought was really important. And I could not think of a better person to talk about it than my friend Jamie. So Jamie, welcome. So happy you're here.
Thank you. Happy to have you here too. Just for the record, you have such an incredible energy. Like, you walked into the room and I'm like, I can already tell. Like, you hadn't even, like, I don't know if I heard you or not because I was across the room, but I knew you would be amazing, and you are. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So what we're going to talk about tonight is how to really, but this is a big conversation. So if you don't have a pencil or something, you need it, because you're going to want to take notes. Now, what you want to do is you're going to want to listen close. Jamie's going to give you some like very specific steps and strategies and things. But before we get to that, I want her to share about why we even need this stupid thing called social media. Like, really, all of you all, just like me, you've heard me say, I'm a little Facebook averse now, but it's a tool, and we can leverage the tool to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And that's what Jamie's going to talk about. So, my dear, tell us why we need social media and what the purpose of this whole thing is as business owners.
Yeah. So it can feel really overwhelming. So I just want to start there and acknowledge the fact that I know a lot of people just see it as a huge waste of time, that they don't actually get a lot of benefit from it. But the reality is, right now, especially with people stuck at home, people spend a lot of time trying to connect on social media, or pass time on social media. Like, they are on their phones a lot. And so when they need something, when they are looking for a resource, they're not pulling out Yellow Pages. They're not even always Googling. They are going to their friends and saying, hey, I need a chiropractor. Do you guys know anybody who would be amazing? Does anybody have somebody they can recommend? So first, they're going for recommendations. If they don't get recommendations from people they already know, they're going into groups and communities of people that they trust and respect and saying, hey guys, is there somebody who might be a great chiropractor for me in this area? That, like, for example, I'm in a group that's a Wisconsin-based group because I used to live there. And people are coming in there all the time and saying, hey, I need a massage therapist. Does anybody have a great recommendation? They're not going and looking on Google. They're not pulling out, anything. They're going to people they know, and they're going to social media. And that really, what I've seen growing as a trend over time, is that people are finding their their service providers, the people that like anything they need help with through referrals. And when they can't get that, they go to social media and ask.
Right.
So
Right.
that's the bare bones. It's going to help you get more clients, straightforward, but it can also help you build this incredible culture around your business, a community around your business that will naturally bring more people to you if you do it correctly, which I know is a big if, but it can be a massive tool that will amplify what you want to have happen in your business. So, and for free, without having to pay. That's a beautiful thing. Use it right. You don't have to just pay for ads and whatever else. It can be a very organic thing. And so people really love the casualness of it because it's they can connect with people and have conversations and find what they need there more easily than trying to sift through a listing of 10,000 Google results. So
what would you say to a practitioner who has a business page? So most of us are going to have a business page. A few of our doctors have groups, like a closed group, but that's where we would build that community. But we start the conversation on a business page. Would you agree with that?
I think you absolutely can, or you could use a group of some kind to have that conversation going as well. You might have a blog. People do share articles that are really great. There's lots of different platforms you can use for that to start that conversation with people. There's kind of 4 stages that people are going to walk through with you, and social media plays a big part in this. And the first thing is they're going to connect with some sort of content, generally speaking, unless they've found, assuming they're not coming from a referral, because that's a separate source. But if they're just looking for somebody and they happen to go searching in your area, they're going to find a piece of content, or maybe somebody will share your article. A friend of theirs will share an article or something that you've put on your page. So that would be a good place to start. If you've done a Facebook Live video, those are fantastic because people can connect not only with your information, but with you as a person.
Right.
And they need to know, especially when they're working with practitioners, it's such a personal thing. They want to know that they are comfortable with the person they're choosing to work with.
Right.
And it's such a great way. If you can't be meeting with them in person right away and doing consultations or whatever, it's like the next best thing. And so Facebook Lives are great, but some sort of content where they can connect with your content and see, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. And yes, they can help me get a solution to whatever it is that I'm dealing with. Whatever problem I'm dealing with, I see they have this expertise. Okay, so that's kind of step 1, is just to help them see that you have the expertise and get on their radar. Step 2 is trying to convert them into a fan of yours. So they kind of go from following your content and connecting with your content to becoming a fan and saying, okay, this person, maybe fan's the wrong word for practitioners, but somebody who really wants to work with you specifically. Like they're sold on what you offer, and now they've connected with you because you have provided some value to them. You've helped shape that conversation that's going on in their mind. Like they're thinking, oh my gosh, I've got this problem, like my body is out of line, and I know there's pain, and I really want to see a chiropractor to get help with that. And I love what this person is saying. I love this content. I love this style of doing it. But now I need to find the person, and this is my person. So that's step 2. It's kind of that deeper. That's why Facebook Lives are great. It's also why communities are great, because you can connect within a community.
Yeah.
Which then takes you into step 3, is that not only are they connecting with, the content you're putting out, your educational stuff, but also with you. But now they're starting to connect with other people who also work with you and believe in the methods that you're using to grow, to do your practice, to help people with their health, and to, have all the benefits that you can bring to them. And when they start connecting with each other, that's when real magic starts to happen, because they'll start talking if you can give them a place to have these conversations and to share and connect with each other, they may not have found anybody who's dealt with the same issues that they have until they've connected within your community. It can be an incredible place of support, especially if they're dealing with something particularly rare or difficult, or I don't know all the different things that people deal with, but having a place where not only are they getting the specific support from you as the physician, but they are getting, or what's the right word? It's a practitioner.
Yeah, practitioner. Yeah. Fine.
I'm learning your vocabulary. Okay. But then also like being able to connect with other people dealing with that and learn just have that moral support, but also have, like, when it's built around your practice and you, that community is going to talk you up. I mean, it's like built in word of mouth referral. So even, it's going to help your retention increase dramatically, because now they're already talking about how much you've helped them. And they're talking about, they might be talking about other things. Of course they are. But they're also, because you've helped them, they're talking about how you've helped. And they're like, oh yeah, I need to go back in, or, oh, I really need to do this, or set up my appointment, or it'll trigger that thought to come back into you and work with you again without you even needing to remind them, because the community has been built on that. But then there's this magical stage that happens once you've got this community built around your business. And it's when it becomes more of a movement. And it's not just when they connect with each other, but when they really truly connect with the deeper purpose and mission behind what you're doing as a practitioner. So imagine, like, they get this healing, and they get the relief that they need from you, and they see other people getting this, and all of a sudden they are an advocate for you. And the next time they hear somebody else saying, hey, I've got this problem, this thing, and you can be like, oh my gosh, Rhonda can help you with that. Rhonda is amazing. This is what she's done for me. She's done this for all these other people I know. So you bring that community component in. And all of a sudden, they're bringing their friends and they're advertising for you without you needing to pay them a dime. And it is this beautiful, magical thing, because they're doing it not because they want to pad your pockets with money or whatever else, but because they truly believe in your heart and what you're doing and how it can change lives. And they want to have a part in helping change people's lives. And they can't do the practitioner stuff like you can, but they can actually help bring other people to you, and they are happy to do that. So that's the process. That's the goal. If you're using social media, and not even just social media, but there's lots of different platforms online. Facebook might not be the best place to have a community, because some of the topics that you talk about might be controversial. And so you may want to consider other platforms. I know, Rhonda, you've been talking about transitioning, and I think that's really wise, because you don't want to lose the platform that you're on if they have issues with some of your topics, So it doesn't have to be the big regular social media platforms, but you will want to leverage those. And you're going to go through kind of the same process, whether you're on Facebook or some other platform. It doesn't really matter so much, as long as you kind of have the intention behind how you're doing this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think that what you said was really important, because as we migrate as a team, as a tribe, we migrate over to our new platform, when Facebook and Instagram are the two largest, most commonly used platforms. So that's where most of your people are going to be. So it only makes sense that we would personally and in business maintain a presence on those platforms, or one or both. I always suggest master one and then go to another. Don't try and do both, because
I call it FOMO marketing, when you try and do too many, because you have this fear of missing out. Like, you want to be on everywhere. And so you start profiles in all the places, and you do them so badly because you don't have time to do any of them well. And so one person focusing on one platform is going to do it so much better than you and get so much better results. So I agree.
So it's leveraging the community, but more importantly is you have to know where your people are hanging out.
Yes.
So if your population as a practitioner, your population is more of that younger crowd, they may be hanging out on Instagram. Or TikTok. That might be your spot. TikTok's not my thing, but there's a lot of people who are using TikTok. And do you use it, Jamie?
No, but I wish I had time to dive into it. It feels so foreign. But
I know, right?
That's part of this, though. We've got to continue, if that's where your clients are, and more like moms and dads are getting sucked into it by their kids and getting on there. It's a really easy place to grow if you figure it out. But I'd probably stick right now with Instagram or Facebook. Just because more people are used to it. So it's a little easy to know how to use it.
It's easy to be able to collect people around your vision or your mission on one of those two platforms, because that's where most of the world's going to live. Yeah. So pick your one where your people live, and then begin to put your content on and start to allow them. So Jamie said, step one is first get good content.
Can we talk about what that is?
Yeah, that's where I was going to go. So
Okay.
Go, girl.
Good, because I see so many people doing this so wrong. And I agree. Step one is picking a platform, putting good content on there, and then we'll move them into your world onto whatever community platform you want. But we got to connect with them where they're at. Right. And so I like to think of this as starting a conversation. And so we need to say, what's the conversation going on in our clients' minds when they are looking for help? Like, what is going to catch their attention and make them say, oh my gosh, that's me. I need to pay attention. And so we always want to be thinking about it as a conversation, because the social media platforms thrive on engagement. Now, engagement just means when people use them. So if they comment back to you, if they like your posts, if they share it with their friends, if you're on Instagram and they save your post, actually Facebook too, if they save it, that says, wow, this person really likes this. If they send your post to somebody else in a message, they say, oh, that person likes this kind of post, and it's a good post, good enough for somebody to actually share. All those things, all the social media sites say, man, that's amazing. This is going to be shown more. And so we want that engagement. So that's good for getting exposure, but it's even better for us to start that connection with our customers, clients. Yeah. What do you call them?
Patients, clients.
See,
go with it.
That's a great example. So I could come on here and talk about customers, and that doesn't make sense to practitioners. They're patients. And so I need to adjust my language and my conversation to what's already going on with you, Rhonda, and the people watching this, all of you guys wonderfully watching this. And so when you can learn the conversation and you can learn the words that are already going on in your patients' minds or your future patients' minds, then what you can do is you can shape that conversation. So it's kind of like storytelling. You just said you did the story brand stuff yesterday. It's wonderful. When you can connect with somebody right away in a story and they can see themselves in it and they go through all the different parts of the story, and then they get to the point where they have to make a decision and they know what they've decided. This is where you can say, most people do this and get this result. But when you work with me, here's the difference. Here's how I've done it. Here's what's different from what's already out there. And this is how you get different results. Like, because there's so much beautiful data and studies around stories and how powerful they are for changing, for helping persuade people, for changing people's minds, not in a manipulative way, but like it really, if you want to help somebody create change in their life and change beliefs, you start with story. You show them those aha moments and those key choice moments where they have to make a decision and say, okay, most people just keep running this old story over and over and over again. But what if you did this? Like when I had this happen, I actually said, no, I'm not going to do that. This time I'm going to try this. And then here's what happened. And here's the result. And here's why it was better. And that will make them say, oh, maybe I should try that. So you can start shaping those conversations with some of your social media posts, telling stories that they'll relate to in language that's already going on in their head, using their words. And your practitioners probably know what their patients say when they come in and say they need help. So start there. Start with all the things when they call you up and they're like, hey, I need help. Here's what I'm experiencing. Those exact words, not the language you're used to using in the clinic, but like their words is where you start, and share some of those stories, and then start helping them see, oh, this is give them the gap between how people respond and keep having trouble and where they can take a different action and start getting help. When you can show that gap, it creates desire. So that's one way. You have a question?
Yeah. No, I want to just jump in just for some clarity for you guys that are watching. So if you think about your patients that come in, and we all know that we see lots of people with digestive issues, lots and lots of people with bloating and heartburn, reflux, they're on PPIs. So if you just did that, if you think about how you speak with a patient when they're in your office, what kinds of words do they use with you? So be very attuned to that. What are they saying to you? I feel bloated. I feel miserable. I am missing out. I feel lonely. I feel, frustrated. I feel Those are keywords for you to use in your marketing. So when you are creating a story or a post, or you're going on an Instagram Live or a Facebook Live, you want to use those words. So you might say something like, I don't know about you, but today I had this lady that came in and she was so bloated, and she just said how miserable she felt, and how, you see how I'm using those words, right? Mm-hmm. I'm telling the story about someone that I've had an experience with, and relaying that back. So your person that watches that goes, oh, well, I feel like that too. And that guy got her fixed. Wow. Okay. I'll like that post, and I'm going to come back and check this page back later. They're not connecting with you yet, but they're connecting at step one, right, Jamie?
Yeah, they're getting their attention. So you get their attention, and you usually get that by using their words and identifying the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you draw them in. Once you've got their attention, you engage them, and you can tell them that story and start shaping the conversation. And I agree 100%, definitely use the exact same words. If you can say not just like what they're feeling, but also how is it affecting their life?
Yes.
Like, so-and-so was feeling bloated, but she had to attend her daughter's wedding, and she was really concerned that she wasn't going to be able to, I don't know the stuff, but like when you can not only talk about the underlying health issue, but how it's affecting their daily life, then they really go, oh my gosh, I've had that happen. Like, that's me. Or I'm so terrified of that happening. How do I keep this from happening? So then you tell the story, you give them that pivot point, right? If you want to build a gap between here, there's two ways. You can say she could have gone this way, but instead this time she decided to come and work with us so that she could, not have to worry about this. I know it sounds, I feel this is super generic, but hopefully you're following kind of that split.
Yes.
In the gap. And then you can just say, if you know somebody, or you have to give a call to action. That's always helpful. And it doesn't always have to be come work with me. Like, that could be one where it could be a come work with me or give me a call or whatever. But it also might be smaller. It might be, have you ever experienced this in your life? Or what's one way that your digestive issues have affected your personal life? Now, that's not saying come work with me, but it's showing them in their mind, like, oh my gosh, this is affecting my day-to-day life. Like, I didn't want to go to my daughter's thing because I was afraid I was going to be running to the bathroom all the time. Or, I missed out on something because I just felt so sick I couldn't leave the house. Right. Or I couldn't wear the outfit I got because I just didn't fit anymore. Well, but when you can invite them to engage and not just have like we start the conversation with what we know is going on in their head, but then we ask them to continue the conversation. Like, Rhonda, this wouldn't be a conversation if we weren't both taking turns talking.
Right.
We both love to talk. We could both just make it happen without the other person or talk over them. But in a respectful conversation with somebody you like, in a conversation that's enjoyable, we both have a chance to share. And there's dialogue back and forth. So not only do we want to encourage them to leave a comment or send us a message or continue the conversation, we then want to follow up and have a conversation back, ask them another question back. The more they talk with us, the more they engage with us, the more we build trust, the more likely they're going to be to turn to us when they know that they want to get help. And if we've already shown that we cared before we're even pitching a single thing, they're going to be far more trusting of us than if we're just selling.
Right. Because the selling conversation is all about who? It's about me, rather than making it about them. Yeah. We have to make it about them. So the conversations that you have in your office are going to be such a great guide for you as far as the content that you provide. So just think about the conversations you have. And all of us, like, I was talking with someone today and I said, well, what about, we use sleep as an example. And I said, as it has to do with sleep, what are 10 things that you could talk about with sleep? And it was like, I don't know. I said, well, how about sleep hygiene before you go to bed? How about blocking off the, making sure there's no lights in the room, blue lights, little blinking lights, making sure that your cell phone is in airplane mode and not radiating your brain while you're sleeping at night. Make sure the room is completely dark. You could easily list 10 things just about sleep. And there you go. You have 10 conversations that you can have with people. Yep. And it's just so easy.
Well, and you can even ask them as you're doing your intake with them, is you can be asking, okay, what are your symptoms? how has this affected your daily life? And now they are giving you the stories that you can use in your content to go with these topics. So if you're like, well, I don't know what to say.
Right.
Yeah.
So the one thing I do want to say is that this is where we have to be, as practitioners, we have to be a little bit careful because of HIPAA. So we just have to be careful.
Names, you wouldn't.
Yep. But when you're telling a story, you can tell the story as long as you don't use a name, or if it was really a person in your office, it was a she, you change it to a he. And if it was a 60-year-old, you change it to a 30-year-old he that was a 60-year-old she. So there's no way that anybody could say, oh, that was my case or that was me. You've buttoned that up. The other thing that you can do is remember that Facebook pages, because we're just talking about Facebook, but it would be the same in Instagram as far as the content that you have on a page is public. Everybody can see it. And if you're asking people to engage more about health related issues, this might be the time that you would want to set up a group.
Yes.
So that those conversations stay inside that group. Yep. Now that doesn't, you still have to be, you have to be very aware of the HIPAA guidelines, but nonetheless, it might be safer for you as a practitioner to set up a group, and your business page leads them to the group.
Yeah. And that was the next thing I was going to say, is that as you're starting this conversation and getting going, that's a really great time to say, hey, if you would like to connect in my community with other people who are dealing with similar things and have a safe place to talk. I mean, and still you have to do all the liability stuff, saying it is the internet. So even if we've tried to make it safe, you still have to be careful. But, come join us, come check it out. Because then even if they're not your patient yet, they're talking with other people who are either patients or wannabe or have somehow interacted with you and your practice. And so they're already aligned with what you're doing. And there you can have those open, and that's that level when they connect with each other, man, they're going to stick around. Now you've got their attention, because that's the trouble with marketing, is getting attention and then keeping attention and then keeping it long-term and getting them to bring other people in.
Right. So when you go out and you say, all right, I'm going to do these 4 things, I'm going to start with content. Where do you find that your frequency of content, what do you say about that? Should they be posting every single day, every other day? What's your formula for that? Or do you have any insight? And also Facebook Lives. How often do you want to do those?
So I genuinely believe that consistency is key, but I can't say that I have studied it enough to know the sweet spot in terms of frequency. So what I have found is that if you're putting out terrible content, but it's going every day, no one's going to interact, and it's going to hurt you more than if you put out really great content once a week or once every other week. And so what I personally have been doing with my community is and I can do this a little differently because I don't have the same privacy concerns that you have with HIPAA, but I do a question of the week every week from my group, where I will pick a question and I will answer it on a Facebook Live every Monday at noon Central Time on my Facebook page. And it's very intentional. I pick a question that I can speak to and I can speak to it and push people towards my product as the solution. And so that's going to be a little easier. I mean, you're not going to necessarily do it on a public page, but you could do it in your group maybe, or you could use that topic and not use a specific question. But I found having something at the same time where people can build a habit around it and show up regularly makes it easier. So maybe in your group, you do a once a week Q&A, or you do a once a month Q&A. And then you share, maybe you don't share the conversations and the stories of your people, but you could talk about a specific topic and start that conversation and say, hey, we're discussing this more deeply in my community. If you'd like to join, let me know and I'll send you the information and you can join. So you could talk about the topic in general and get them into your community that way.
So where do you come up with ideas for content other than conversations that we would have inside the office? Are there other places or other things, other ways that you would interact? I want you to talk about that. And I also want you to talk about consistency of message.
Yeah.
So you and I had this conversation a little bit before we went live on this broadcast.
Yeah. So number one, you don't just want to post things for the sake of posting. You want it to be aligned with what your goals are in your practice. So if you are a massage therapist, you're not going to be posting about gut health unless you want to sell something that has to do with, helping with gut health, like what is it that you really want to highlight the gap between where they are now before working with you and where they will be after working with you. My goal is to be their biggest cheerleader and to empower them to become the person I know they can be after working with me and my product. And so your patients, how will their life change after working with you? And the more we can help them see that what you offer can help them get that, the better. So the content that you want to put out there needs to address any fears that they have around this. It should address any beliefs that need to shift. So maybe they don't believe in more holistic healing, or maybe they're open to it, but they're still skeptical. So you might want to, talk about why this is a great alternative to some of the things that people normally do and overcome some of those points of skepticism. That's a really big mouthful at the end of it. But
that's so good. That is such good information. So I want to talk about, let's pivot just a little bit. I'm checking messages here. If I look like I'm distracted, that's
cool.
Tell me a little bit. We talked before about the 5 things you never, ever, ever, ever that are like business killers.
Yeah.
I want to hear.
Okay. So I like to think of, I love these. I think of it kind of like a bad date. It's been a long time since I've dated. But so many people do this, and you just see it, and it's not like they don't mean to be obnoxious, but they just are. Okay, so the first thing is, imagine going on a date for the first time, and you're with somebody, and all they do is they talk about themselves and why they're important, and that's all they do. They don't ask any questions.
Like, I'm over you already.
Yeah, like they're okay. Yeah. So if we're doing that on our pages, in our social, in our content, and all we're doing is talking about, this is my business and we do this and I do this and I've got this thing. Like, even though we think this is going to actually build our expertise, it doesn't. It just comes off as egotistic and out of touch with what people's problems really are. So that's number one. All they do is talk about themselves and why they're important.
Right.
Number two, you don't listen to what your people are saying. So if you are, just talking, and people comment, like if they put a comment on your page or they put up a post in your group and nobody interacts with it, just crickets. Like, you're not engaging, you're not talking, you're not listening. Or if you're in a conversation in a group or whatever, where you're actually commenting back and forth and you just keep telling them the same thing, and they're like, no, but you're not listening. Exactly. They're just going to shut down. They're just leave, like they're not going to stick around.
This is the crawl out the bathroom window conversation. Like, I got to go to the bathroom, and then they never come back. They're out.
My kid is calling. I got to go. Bye. Sorry.
Yeah, right?
It was on silent. I swear. Right. They need to know that they're being listened to. If there's no compassion, if there's no sense of really care, they're like, they need to know you care and aren't just in it for building the practice. Okay. The third thing is, if they ask the questions, but then they just don't follow up. Like, if they like try to have good conversation and they're like, oh yeah, what do you do for work? And then you start to answer, and then they just kind of go look off and stare at the TV, or, like they don't really listen, and they just start talking again or whatever. That's the same sort of thing. So if we are asking questions to our people, if we're telling stories, we're asking them to engage, we need to come back and engage with them in the comments. If they're going to take the time to message us, if they're going to take the time to comment, right, we need to have those conversations.
Right.
Conversations are not one-sided if they're truly a conversation. That's a preaching, or, whatever. It's advertising or marketing, and people put their blinders up. But when you have those real conversations back and forth, that builds that trust. Okay. So you may ask questions and try and get them to engage, but then you never answer them. This one is funny. When they only care about what they can get from the date, like, that's what some people do on social media, is they only post like promos and like sales stuff, and they really only care about getting you to sell. or getting you to hire. Go to them. See, language, not sure.
You got it. We got it. Yeah. Okay. Work with us.
Work with you. Right. Book you, whatever you want to call it. If that's all you're ever posting about is how to book you as how to get your patients to book, they're going to just feel like you're just pushing it for your own sake, and it's not because you actually have diagnosed if they need the help or not, right?
Right.
So if that's all you post, people will be blind to it. They're just gonna be like, meh, whatever. And then the last one is when there's very little and very inconsistent communication. So like they only contact you when they want something from you, so if you're only emailing if you have an email list when you want them to book a session, or, when you need a payment or something like that, or you're only posting on social media for the sake, for certain reasons, they're just not going to listen. You need to have that consistent conversation.
Right.
And like I said, it can vary in frequency, but they need to know you care, that you're providing value. That's why a community is great, because the community starts those conversations too then. And, and you don't have to have that burden to do that all the time. So if you've got an active group, now your people are starting to keep that going. So it starts with us. We start that conversation. We bring in people who can adopt what it is our mission is, and then they start to help other people get to the right path and find you and hire you.
Yeah. So did you get 5?
No, 5. Yeah. Do you want me to write them down?
Yeah.
Okay. So they just talk about themselves. They don't listen. They ask questions, but don't actually engage in a conversation. They only care about what they can get. And then the communication only happens when they want something from you.
See, and I don't know about the rest of us, our group, but I've been guilty of the same, which is just you start throwing content out there just for the sake of throwing content out, because you just want to have some content and you just know, well, I'm supposed to have something on social media. And so I don't care what it is. I'm just going to do it. So like we have, I have a partnership in a marketing company, and it's called Clinical Catalyst. So Clinical Catalyst provides a website and marketing content for wellness and healthcare practitioners. And the problem that we hear back from these practitioners is a lot of them will say, hey, you're doing all my social media posting for me. How come no one's responding? I'm like, that's because all I'm doing is opening the gate. I'm giving you content to have activity, but your job is to get in and make that connection.
And start a conversation saying, hey, look at this. Here's my thoughts on this. Has anybody else experienced it? It can be 2 sentences. Absolutely.
Doesn't have to be much. And when people start to post and engage on your content, you don't feel like you have to respond to everyone, because then it just looks awkward. Don't you think, Jamie? Like you look through a feed and you've got one person comments and then you answer, and another person comments and you answer, and you answer.
I do. I totally do. I do.
A community girl.
But here's the thing. When we comment on somebody else's comment, like if they took the time to comment, they're not going to read everybody out. It just says one reply.
True.
True. If
you
look at Facebook, it doesn't tell you who's replying to all of them. It's not like your face every other time.
Right.
It just says one reply or 3 replies or whatever. But that person may not know that conversation has continued. And so when you respond to them, then it gets a notification and they come back and you can actually start those conversations. So I do. And Facebook likes to see us engaging with our people.
Right.
Now, if you have a massive audience, you can't do that for everybody.
Right.
And so it's okay not to, but.
Do you promote and encourage the use of Facebook Messenger?
I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook Messenger. I used it very early because I saw the benefits of it, but I also knew that it was going to become very spammy very quickly. And so when it is done well and within the terms of service and the way they want it to be done, I think it can be a wonderful tool.
Yeah.
But too many people use it to spam. And that will hurt you, the spammer. Not saying your people are spammers, but if you do it incorrectly and you don't know all the rules and they change all the time, then it actually is going to hurt your page. It's going to hurt everything you're trying to do on there, and it could break trust. That's because here's the thing: like we give our email to just about anybody. It's not very personal. Right. Our messenger is where we connect with certain people, but not everybody. And then like text messaging on our phone is like even more intimate, like only our family text message, even more intimate than that is calls. Right. And so as we get more and more close to the center of intimacy in terms of communication, we need to be more and more respectful and careful not to make that feel like we're just pitching. I mean, if you go over to your mom's house and she feeds you a muffin and then she says, that'll be $3, please, you're going to be offended because you're in that personal space. And so as we get deeper and deeper in, we're getting more personal. And so sales messages at those points are going to be far more offensive than if we were somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So I have a love-hate relationship. It's great, but
yeah. And I don't, I will get messages on Facebook Messenger, but I don't use it as a primary form of communication because I don't feel like it's as effective. It does allow you to connect personally with the person, but I'm the girl who'd much rather hop on a call or get on a Zoom, or I would much rather have a face-to-face or a phone-to-phone conversation to make that connection, because those conversations can be so one-sided sometimes.
Well, and you don't ever want to automate something and make it look like you're really responding, like fake personalization, because that's like having your best friend text a girlfriend, instead of you. That's really what it's like. Like, we just don't want to go there. It's just not. So.
Yeah. So to recap, let's talk about, and then by the way, for any of you that have any questions, now's your time to post them, because we're going to fly through if you have any questions for Jamie. So, what I want to recap is, number one, we want to make sure that we've got good, engaging content, and that the message of the content is consistent. So if you want to work with menopausal women, then the content on your page or your group, however you structured it, has to be consistent with that. You can't have chiropractic posts going on and then wonder why people aren't talking to you about menopause, when all you're doing on your content side is you're getting automated chiropractic posts or automated acupuncture posts, but that's not what you want to be known for. So that's number one. Number two, you take number two.
The 5 business, or the conversation. I can't remember what order we did these in.
Sorry, the 4 points. What are the 4 things?
Number one, our content, definitely. And can I throw something in there too? Talk about your deeper mission. Talk about your greater purpose. Why you're doing what you're doing. Anytime that comes from the heart and you talk about the deeper why, it's going to connect with people who are like, yes, I want that. Anytime you're helping people have the lifestyle that they really want to have, but can't have because of their health issues, it's going to resonate. Those things, it's aligned with your mission. It's aligned with what you're doing, come from the heart. So anyway, so that's content. Then you're going to want to get them. That'll help them connect with you too, for that matter.
Right.
Especially if you do that in a
story. It comes back to story. We're just telling a story. You're relating, whether I'm relating a patient story or I'm talking about my own health story or my own health journey. That's that connection that makes it so real. So,
absolutely. So then they connect with your content, they connect with you as a person. Then we want to get them into a group or a community of some sort. Really, any place that you can connect your people, it doesn't really matter the platform, where you can have those more private conversations and they can connect with each other and know that they're not alone. There's something so powerful about belonging. And so when we can create that belonging for them, it's going to benefit your business. And then we want to help. Like, when we share that deeper mission with them and we do it in the space and we treat the people and they get the help they need and they're transformed, they become advocates for what we're doing and the mission behind what we do. And they start to bring their friends into that community. Those are the 4 main steps.
So powerful. Like, I love it. And it's really so easy to do. It just starts with content.
Intentional content and conversation, bringing them into conversations. So.
Right. Okay, let's see. Let me see if we've got any questions on here. How do you get people to a group, and how does the business page lead to the group? Good question.
Great. So I do a lot of Facebook Lives, and one of the things I have done is I actually bought a link. So for me, it's like PvP community. It's for photographers. Don't join. It won't be relevant. But that way, when I'm in a Facebook Live, I can just say, go here. And what it does, it's not an actual website. It's a redirect, and you can pay anyone on like a Fiverr or like somebody who's a contract. It's very quick and easy for people to set up. So I can send them there that way. You could also send them a link in a message and say, hey, if you want to join, or put it in the description of a post. That's probably the easiest. Go to the group. That's the easiest. There's a place on your page. You can put a button for your group. So join community, or go to website and you can link right to a group. But tell people you have it when they come in, have them pull their phones up and show them exactly have them type in what it's called and say, yep, that's it. Click join. Have them join. So there's lots of different ways to do it, but talk about it. Talk about the fact that you have a community, and that they can join and connect with other people who are experiencing similar things to what they are.
And if you do move your community off of Facebook in order to have those conversations that you're less likely to be audited for or censored, have content censored. If you do that, just warning, you can't post a link to a competitor site in your post and expect that Facebook's going to like that. So this is where you have to get a little bit creative, and you may want to give them an opt-in page, or a page where they can go give you their email address, or you can send them information via email, right? About where you're going to go, where you're going to live, where your community is, and the invite comes in an email.
This would be a great way to use Messenger, and because you can just send a message to my page with the word group, and then you can have it automatically send them a link back to the group.
Yeah. And there's tutorials on how to do that if that feels like techie overwhelm for you.
Sorry.
If you go to YouTube, no, it's okay. But if you go to YouTube, you'll find
you can do an auto response on your Facebook page. Like literally, Facebook has in the settings, there's a place that says auto response.
Mm-hmm.
You can write an auto response that says, "Hey, thanks so much for contacting our page. Here's how we'll get help. If you'd like to join our free group, here's a link." And then it's just sent to anybody who ever messaged it. So it's done.
Mm-hmm.
That's another option too. That's very non-techy.
Super easy. Okay. Next question.
Put it in the footer of emails too, for that matter. Anytime you're sending So if you've got client emails and communication, just make it part of your footer, where you've got your name and all your qualifications. Just put join our group here, click link.
Put it in your footer. Yep. Great idea. Another one is, in order to get them in the community group, you have to become friends with them on Facebook, correct?
Not correct. Doesn't have to be that way. They can request to join a group. Now, if it's a secret group, you might have to enter an email in order for them to be able to join. I normally keep my groups as private, which means the groups show up, but the posts and the things inside the group will not show to anyone who's not a member.
Right. Yeah. Better to do, I think, for our audience is to do a private group. Mm-hmm. And then you want to ask the questions. So you can you have 3 questions that you can ask them when they join the group. So those of you that are in the clinical mastery group, my clinical mastery group, you can see some of the things that Jamie's talking about that already is at work in our group, how we have such a great community, and no one wants to leave the group because it's just such a great community. And I don't have to respond to every post because y'all do such a great job of doing it. Like, you're just all about it with each other. So when you do set up your group, much like ours, you want to ask those 3 questions. Give them 3 things to give you. You want market data basically, but you want to know what do they want help with? I would always ask for an email address.
I do too. I was going to say that. Ask for an email. I don't require it. But I do. But I get anywhere from 60 to 70% people opt in because they want more info.
Yeah. So so you don't have to interact, you don't have to friend them. Now, as practitioners, you get to make the choice whether you're going to allow your patients to be your friends. That's your choice. If you want them to be on your personal page, you want to quote friend them, that's your choice. Some people are okay with it and some people aren't. I suppose if you have a drinking problem and all your Facebook buddies are like, they're shooting shots, or I don't know, I've never done that in my whole life, but whatever that's called, I don't know, you throw back a shot. Yeah, that. And if you're doing like a shot throwing contest, you probably don't want your patients to see that. So I wouldn't recommend that, but you get it. Like, some people don't want that division. I don't mind. I wouldn't want a lot of my patients on, but I don't mind you practitioners being on my page because we're all in this together. Like, I don't have any secrets. I'm good. So it's always up to you. But no, people can like and follow your business page and be in your group, and that doesn't have anything to do with your personal page.
Yep.
Okay, let's see. What other platform would you recommend, Miss Jamie?
I'm going to be honest, I have not researched platforms off of Facebook very much. I have tried doing forums on my website without a lot of luck because people are already on Facebook. So it's harder to build a habit on a different platform than it is on one where they're already spending time. Now, that being said, it's been years since I've tried to grow something off of Facebook. And so now I think there are a lot of platforms that have apps, and everybody's on their phones all the time. That make it so much easier. And so I think maybe later on, Rhonda can answer this question because I think she's been researching platforms. Yeah, I'm not mistaken. We'll let you do that, but I haven't, so I don't want to speak to that one because I use Facebook. So.
Yeah. So if we're going to if you're going to use Facebook, you want to use Facebook to leverage and collect your community together. So I would say start with your Facebook page because it's your public facing page, and at least start to get some content out on there, on your page, because people will come there and they can interact with you there and get to know you. I would also say, Jamie, like jump in here anytime. I'm just trying to recap this into some action steps. So the second thing would be to make sure that you're doing Facebook Lives. I know it's so important. And for those of you that are with us this whole week for our Live at 5, on Friday night is our big woohoo party. Jamie, you're invited if you want to come.
Awesome.
My friend who is, her name's Chrissy Weathersby, Weathersby. She is going to talk about how to do video Hollywood style at home. She's an actress and a stunt woman, and she's bringing all of Hollywood stuff, and she's got sound.
I love that stunt.
So that's what's happening on Friday night. So for those of you that are a little nervous about, your zits showing or your hair being weird or shadows or whatever, that's all what she's going to cover with us on Friday night. So Facebook Live, think of it like connecting with the person in your office. You don't have any problem connecting with someone face to face. When Jamie and I are together in the same room, we're having the same kind of conversation. We're laughing and doing our thing, just like we're doing right here.
Can I say something new to this?
Yeah.
Embrace your quirks. Let yourself be weird. Let your kids run in half naked. Just, I mean, I've had it all happen, and I have found it is the weirdest thing. But when instead of freaking out about what's going on, when we're just embracing, I started bleeding from my face on a Facebook Live once. Like I scratched something and it was a scab from a zit or I don't know what it was. And it just started like running down and it would not stop. It was like one of those things where I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, they know what's happening. It's obvious. And I'm just like, well, this is what happens. But people... I mean, they don't judge you. They're like, oh my gosh, she's real. Like
that's right.
She's real, and they connect. And when we're real together, it builds so much trust and connection. So don't let it be imperfect. It's actually better that way.
Yeah, so much better. So much better. So when you are on that video, here's my tip. On my computer, I have a Mac, and on my Mac, the camera is right next to the little green dot at the top of the Mac. And this is what I say. Every time you get on a Facebook Live, you want to make love to the little green dot.
I love it.
That's what you do. So this whole time, I have very, very little of the time that we've been on this for almost an hour. I have not looked at Jamie.
Now, I've been looking at you, but I have my window up by the green dot as much as I can.
See? And that's why, because I've just trained myself to look at the green dot. So when I look at the green dot, your face is the green, everybody is a green dot to me. Everybody's a green dot to me. So when I'm chatting, I'm just chatting like I'm having a conversation with the green dot. The green dot allows me to connect with you because now for those of you that are watching, watch what happens when I take my eyes. So I'm looking at the green dot, which feels like I'm looking right at you. Now, look what happens when I do this. Do you see how that connection breaks? Like I'm looking right at Jamie's eyes. I'm looking right at her.
That's why, for me, it was hard because you look straight at the dot. And so I'm looking at you because I feel like you're looking at me and I'm like, oh, I've got my window closed. And I thought of that. I'm like, I'm probably looking down a little, but yeah.
But you want to look at the green dot. Yeah, there you go. Thanks. You want to look at the place where you want to connect with them, because if you're trying to build connection, we don't want to build connection like this. We want to build connection like this. Yeah. And so just to what Jamie said, embrace.
Otherwise it looks like they're looking at your chest.
Don't do that. I'll duck. But you want to just be as natural as you can. And if you're in your messy office, it's just your messy office. And if you're, your water spills, then you just go, well, it spilled and hang on, I got to wipe this up. But people relate with that honesty and the vulnerability of just being a real human being, because we're all in this human race together. Mm-hmm. And especially right now, with the world as it is, people just want to know that they can connect with you and you don't have all your together, and that you maybe had a donut last week because you were really stressed out. And maybe you did eat the worst food on the planet, which is a donut. And you maybe just did it. And you say, hey, I just had a bad day and I had a donut. People are like, oh, you had a donut too? Okay, good. I don't feel so bad. You just gave them a reason to trust you and love you even more. Mm-hmm. So it's just so vital. So doing those Facebook Lives is crucial for the content and then the Facebook Lives. And then once you start to do that, you'll start to find that your community is going to engage with you much more because they can connect with you, the person.
And when you talk about your community on the Facebook Lives, like just mention it like, oh, we were having this discussion in our community, blah, blah, blah. People are going to be like, you have a community? How do I join? Like they're going to ask. So then you'll know to message them and send them a link. So,
yep. Okay. So here's another question. Why are Facebook Lives so important? When people say, hello, anyone there? I find that awkward.
Don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. Don't do that.
Nobody's there the moment that you turn it on. I mean, you can schedule it and so people might show up, but the first 30 seconds is for the replay watchers. Mm-hmm. You will, so start it as if they're watching from the beginning. Don't ever do that. Say, hey, and then start lead in with the problem or with a story, or here's what we're going to talk about. Cause you've got like 2 seconds
to connect with someone. Yep.
Don't do that. So
if you're fumbling around and you're like, is anyone there? I'm going to just wait and hope someone shows up. Remember that your live, they stay on your page. And people can go find them later and watch them. And if you don't lead in with a great lead and you just start talking like tonight, as soon as I hit the broadcast button and it said you're live, boom, I'm on that. And we're just starting right to have a conversation. So yeah, don't hem-haw around. And then how long should a Facebook Live be? I have an idea, but I want to hear what you have to say.
I think it really depends on the content and the purpose behind it. And so if you're just trying to attract attention and get somebody to consume right away, I would say something short, like 2 to 3 minute tip. If you want something a little bit deeper for people who already know who you are a little bit more, where you want to share more in depth, 8 to 10 minutes is great. Some people say as many as 18 is going to play the algorithm best. If you're doing an in-depth training, I've done an hour and a half. Just depends. Like an interview like this can go longer. It really depends on what the purpose is behind it.
Right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of keeping it short and sweet, especially in the initial stages, because again, we're dating.
Yeah.
To use your analogy, we're dating. We just need to just get on and say, hey, I had this situation happen today and I wasn't really sure what to do about it. And I went and looked it up and I found the most amazing thing. Here's what I found, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, so shocked. So I'm like super excited. And I just thought you might want to know. All right. Have a great one. See you later. Bye-bye. And done. And
ask them to give their opinion about it or something.
Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that.
But yeah, sure. Because that really my best ads, when I run ads, I know that's a whole different scope, are the short ones, 30 seconds or less. Because
super short.
People have no attention span.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to say before we wrap up, I got a couple of things to say. Jamie, in her adult real life, is a brand photographer. And so what Jamie does is she teaches other photographers how to promote their business in being a personal brand photographer. Now, that's what you and I need. Okay. As business people, we need someone to do brand photography. Now, Jamie's not your girl that's going to fly to your house because she's got a gazillion children. She lives out in the middle of stinking nowhere. She loves to walk like barefoot and lick on the wood and drink the clean water and lick the moss. I saw her doing it on a video. Like the girl is great. I know. But she loves it. So she's like kind of weird that way, but that's what we love about her. But what she does is she empowers and teaches professional brand photographers how to make a living, how to create brand photography. So she's kind of started this whole movement around professional brand photography. She sort of branded the brand, basically.
I made the term.
Yeah, she made the terms. So that's her kind of adult real life. But what she really loves to do is to teach people about how to build community. Mm-hmm. So as you can see, there's a kind of a lot to this whole marketing thing. So I know a lot of you are probably glazing over like, oh my gosh, this is so much. And what do I do? How do I get started? How am I going to handle this? I don't even know where to start. Mm-hmm. So you have one option I want to give you is you can connect with Jamie. She's got a podcast. I'm going to throw it up really fast. If you'd like to go find her on her podcast, and they're great. They're just her own conversations about having a business, building a business, where she gets stuck. And I love them because they're just raw and real and candid and they're just there. So this is where you would find her, pbrandme.me. So you can go find her there. And then the second thing that you can do is you can join me on what I call the Business Coaching Collaborative. And this is where I take you through over the course of 10 weeks. We go 10 weeks. Every single week, we have an hour and a half phone call every single week. And I'm going to take you through all the steps that it takes for you to scale your own business, from business strategy to finding your niche, to setting up your internal systems and processes, all the way through your marketing, social media, how to create a content calendar, how to get on a Facebook Live, ways that you can practice, all the way through. It's 10 weeks of craziness, but at the end of 10 weeks, you will have transformed your business and your marketing. So there will be a link in the comments that you can sign up for that wait list. It's currently closed, but we are on a wait list and we hope to open it back up. We are going to open it back up by the end of this month. So you can get on that wait list and that'll let you get in, have first chance at getting in. But be sure that you go find Jamie. There's her thing again. Go find her on pbrand.me, and she would love to chat with you via her podcast. So thank you, Jamie.
Thank you for having me, Rhonda. You're lovely.
Best. I'm so thankful that you came on, and I hope this is great information for all of the rest of you. I'm sure that it is. It's not something that you're going to be excellent at right away. So cut yourself some slack, just chill, and just start thinking about the conversations that you can have. And don't worry about the Facebook Lives, because really, as long as you're not bleeding down the side of your face, it's all good.
Totally, for sure.
Exactly. All right, you guys, have a great evening. Thanks for hanging out with me. And we'll talk to you tomorrow night when we have one of our own. Tristan Roney and his wife are going to be with us, and they're going to talk about their success in adding a membership to their practice. And during this COVID issue, this membership is what kept them afloat. It's a whole second revenue stream for their business. And Tristan and his wife are going to share with us exactly how they did it and going to give you hopefully some tips and motivation on how to do it and set it up yourself. So anyway, that's it. Much love to all of you. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Rhonda.
See you guys later. Good night.